Week 4 of the NFL season is officially over after another week of Monday night doubleheaders. Today, we're going to be looking ahead, looking at my Week 5 power rankings. Really interesting week where up top, there's a little bit of shakeup, but around the middle of the league, still kind of hard to tell who's good and who's bad, but some big wins this week for teams that we had expectations for, some underdog wins, and some teams up at the top that had some disappointing losses. We'll talk about every game this week and preview where I think next week's games are headed. But before we get into it, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Also, for my NFL draft junkies out there, be sure to check out my Patreon, which I will leave linked down below, where I've got my full in-depth draft guide. And be sure to sign up for Underdog Fantasy using my code JWAC to get double your initial deposit. One of my favorite sites to use. I do their pick'em contests every week, and it's an absolute blast. It makes for fun games like tonight where we had the Titans and the Dolphins, where there wasn't a lot of action, but you can get in with their player props and you can go higher or lower. Leave a like, subscribe if you guys are new, ring that notification bell so you never miss out on a video. Let's go ahead and start with my number 32 team in the league. That is going to be the Miami Dolphins, who dropped down to 1-3. Now I was lower on the Dolphins than seemingly most of the consensus coming into the year. And, well, that is a sentiment that has held true up to this point. I get Tua's out, and that really is why they're at number 32. This offense looks so stagnant without Tua at the helm. And I'm not the biggest Tua guy in the world either, but it's a glaring difference on why Miami is struggling. Tua gets the ball out of his hands faster than any quarterback in the NFL. This is an offense that's predicated on speed, getting receivers in space, these short passes that can open up the deep ball down the game. And that's what Tua does better than anybody in the league. He is tailor-built for this system. Tua is the system. Without him, you are seeing a major hit in the quality of this offense. They're not able to establish the run game because teams are accounting for the run. They're not expecting this team to take deep shots. I did think the play calling was somewhat better in the first half of this game. They're trying to get Tyreek Hill a little bit more involved in terms of screen passes and getting him as a runner. That's what they should be doing. Tyreek Hill is still the most electric player in football. Get that guy the ball in space and let him go to work. Didn't really seem like he had a ton of opportunities to do that. And, I mean, when you don't have a quarterback that can get you the ball, that's going to be an issue. But there are some other issues with this team. They really struggled against a bad Titans team to get a ton of stops. Jalen Phillips goes down with an injury. And it makes you wonder, is this team going to be a seller at the deadline? Because they're 1-3 right now. Doesn't look like it's getting any better. I don't know why my graphic always has the last number for the Monday night games out. I do apologize. This is a Miami team that I just don't see this getting any better for them. I believe they're going into a bye week. I could be mistaken on that one, but there's just no excitement with this team right now. Could they move Tyreek Hill, considering they're not going anywhere this year? Get a first-round pick in return from a team like Washington, Pittsburgh, Kansas City even, and just move forward and start looking ahead. I'm not ruling that out as a possibility, but Miami right now I think has to be the worst team in football. They are just a brutal team offensively without Tua. At number 31, it's staying the same from last week. It's the other team in Florida. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a team that had a better week. Kind of in an upset situation there. Had a real shot to upset Houston at home. Really good performance by the defense. I thought they did a really solid job for three and three quarters of the game. And then that last quarter of the fourth kind of blew it on that last drive. And Houston, who struggled most of the game, goes the length of the field, scores a touchdown, wins the game. There's some positives to take away from here. The offensive line looked better for Jacksonville. The defense played better. I don't know if the defense was better or if Houston's offense is a concern. We'll get to that in a little bit. But Trevor Lawrence, I mean, I'm a Trevor Lawrence truther. I have been for years. Some of these routine throws he's really struggling to make. just overthrowing his guys, and there's concerns there. You also look at this receiving core that everyone was hyping up as one of the best in the league. Gabe Davis has looked pretty terrible this year. Brian Thomas Jr. is playing like a star, but I mean, they can't really buy Trevor anytime. And even though the offensive line was better today, there's still some concerns there with that line moving forward. And then Travis Etienne just like doesn't play the first half. I think he's your best offensive skill position right now. Probably should be getting that guy the football. Nope, they went with Tank Bigsby. Just a lot of concerning decisions here. They got the Colts next week, who they've had the Colts number for the last few seasons. And then they go to London. I fully expect they're the only winless team left in the league. If this team goes 0-5, Doug Peterson's gone. I'm shocked he still has a job today, in all honesty, with just these horrible decision-making. He's lost like 10 games in a row dating back to last year. This is getting really, really ugly for Jacksonville. And it's a team that they didn't move up or down for me. I thought they were bad coming into the week. I still hold that same sentiment. I don't think they're good. The defensive scheme change doesn't really seem to be helping them at all. The interior of their defensive line is butter. And I just think that this is a worrisome team moving forward. So I got Jacksonville at 31. At number 30, we got another team that we unfortunately had to watch tonight, and that was the Tennessee Titans. Moving up 2 spots, I had them as the worst team in the league last week. They very well could be the worst team in the league still. That game doesn't move me. I think that's the first time they scored 30 in like a year and a half against a Dolphins team that just couldn't move the football. So, I mean, again, I'm not going to say it was all negatives. I actually kind of like this Titans defense. I think they're playing pretty well defensively. Devondre Sweat's making plays. This team's in your face. They didn't have Jeffrey Simmons tonight, and they played a pretty good defensive game, which was a concern I had with Tennessee coming into the year. I was worried how the defense was going to look post Mike Vrabel, and they've held up pretty nicely. Offensively, I still think this is an absolute brutal team. But what I will say, I thought Mason Rudolph did a better job than Will Levis did. He looked more in command, was a better decision maker, hitting guys in stride. Is your ceiling more limited with Mason Rudolph? I guess. But I also think he elevates the floor with your team as well. And for a Titans team that's not going to do anything this year, maybe that's the right decision. He can keep you more competitive. Will Levis played like the first quarter of this game, and for the 4th week in a row, just indefensible turnover. I think he's up to 6 interceptions on the year now. He's just making bad decisions. The run game, pretty solid, actually. Tony Pollard, Tyjae Spears, my guy, they both had pretty solid games. The offensive line did well. So there were some positives to take away from this Titans game, but the big question mark moving forward is, what is this quarterback situation going to look like? Is it going to be Levis? Is it going to be Rudolph? I personally think they should stick with Rudolph. At number 29, we got the New England Patriots. And I mean, not much to say about this team. The reason they're this high, their defense is still one of the best units in football. They're playing really well this season, all things considered, outside of that Thursday night Jets game. They're playing good football on the defensive side. Offensively, I mean, I know some Patriots fans want to get Drake May out there. I can't think of a more disastrous thing for this team to do this season. This offensive line can't protect anyone. They have no receivers that can really bail him out. Even if he gets protection, like who's getting open on this team? I'm a big Jalen Polt guy. I don't trust him in those situations yet. You look at the offensive line. The run game it's been okay with Ramondre Stevenson, but even there, it's like, am I moved by it? Not particularly, considering he's had a bit of a fumbling bug up to this point in the season. So, I mean, the Patriots, we knew were going to be one of the 3 or 4 worst teams in football coming into the year. We know that that's where they're going to be. They win week 1 against the Bengals. This is a team that very easily probably could be 0-4. This is a terrible football team, and I got them at number 29. I think that is a fair ranking for a team that just isn't very good, but their defense is good enough to kind of keep them in games. Don't really have much more to say other than, please, for the love of God, don't play Drake May. Oh, Cleveland. This is a team that I had really high expectations for coming into the year, and they have been my biggest disappointment on the season, and I don't see how it can't be. This is a team that was really fun last year and was one of my favorite teams in the league last season. Their defense was stellar, flying around, rushing the quarterback. Their secondary was elite. You had some incredible plays and performances there. The run game, this team was scrappy. Jerome Ford had some plays. The offense they were okay. They went through like 7 different quarterbacks, but this team found ways to win. I mean, I've said it for 2-3 weeks now. Deshaun Watson better get benched. If this Cleveland team has any hopes of being semi-competitive, Deshaun Watson better get benched because this is a disaster in Cleveland. Even though he didn't have a bad performance. I mean, the offensive line let him down. I mean, the entire line was pretty much out, and it shouldn't have mattered. It really shouldn't have. Vegas was out like 2 of their 3 best defenders in this game. Didn't even matter. I mean, they couldn't protect Deshaun Watson. The run game has been an absolute disaster. And defensively, I'm not really sure what happened. This is a defense that was the best defense in football last year. They just didn't come to play. Myles Garrett's creating pressure. But they played a Raiders team that was the worst in the league running the football, and they were able to establish the run against this Cleveland team. Devin Singletary had a good game 2 weeks ago against this Cleveland run defense. There's a lot of concerns I have with this Cleveland team, from the quarterback to the O-line to the coaching even. I know Stefanski won Coach of the Year. This is a Cleveland team that I just don't think is very good. And that pains me because I was pretty high on this team coming into the year. But from what I've seen thus far, losing in back-to-back weeks to the Raiders and to the Giants, who we'll get to them very soon on this, it's just a disaster, an absolute disaster for a team that had high playoff hopes. Jameis gives them a better chance to win. It's plain and simple. They won't do it because I think the owner's got to have some sort of say here. I think that's the only reason Watson's still playing. But yeah, I think Cleveland's been terrible, and I got him at 28. Said we'd be getting to the Giants very soon. Well, here we are. They're at number 27. I mean, this is a game that they very easily could have won against the Dallas Cowboys. I actually thought they were pretty solid in this game. Malik Neighbors making some incredible plays, which is kind of becoming routine at this point. I thought the offensive line did a decent job protecting Daniel Jones as well. This is a line that I think has massively improved since last season. And defensively, I didn't think they were bad. I think the big issues you're going to have is the secondary with this Giants team. It just feels like they can get beat deep pretty easily. CeeDee Lamb had a couple of big plays, and that really was the difference maker. But I like this Giants squad. I think, yes, they're at 27, but I think they're a really scrappy team that's going to be in a lot of close games this year. I think their defense is playing tough. Dexter Lawrence is an absolute machine. I mean, him and Chris Jones have to be the top 2 defensive linemen in football right now. They have been playing great. You're getting really good stuff from Kayvon Thibodeau. I thought he had a really, really impressive performance on Thursday night. They weren't able to really establish any sort of a run game, but the big issue with this Giants team is the quarterback play. Daniel Jones just didn't seem to have the arm strength to make some of these deep passes, and he had guys open. He wasn't able to connect, and that kind of was the difference maker for the Giants. You got to think if he got a quarterback with a little bit more arm talent, the Giants might win this football game, but Daniel Jones might limit the ceiling of this Giants team, even though I thought he played a otherwise really solid game. I think that's something that's going to get kind of swept under the rug because of his inefficiencies late. But I got the Giants at 27. I think there are some positives there for New York, but overall, not really anything I saw to justify moving them up. I mean, a really weird one here, but I do have Carolina going up 4 after this week. Yes, they lost. That was kind of an impressive loss. I'm not going to lie. I'm just impressed with this offense. I think Dave Canales and Andy Dalton are doing a really, really good job with this offense. I think they're playing really solid football right now. They were able to establish the run. Chuba Hubbard had himself a really good game, ran with power, showed some nice speed to the outside. You love that. This team's out Adam Thielen, but it felt like they were able to get guys involved. My guy Xavier Legette's getting touchdowns. Deontay Johnson's making plays. The offensive line is protecting. And it's like, okay, I mean, I would take their offense over every offense that we have mentioned up to this point with Andy Dalton at the helm. I really would. I think offensive coaching, massive plus. I think their weapons are proving that, yeah, they went out and they went and added weapons for this team, and it looks like that is a good move. Defensively, you got to have like a bad team meeting, because I think their defense is what kind of held them back in this game. Weren't able to tackle on a big Jamar Chase touchdown. That's a big one. Weren't really able to generate a ton of pressure on Burrow in this game. I think they had 0 sacks as a team, which against the Bengals O-line, which is historically not great, not a sign that you want to see. But, I mean, offense is kind of what you're looking for in this league. And I think Carolina right now has one of the better offenses, plain and simple. I think their offense over the last couple of weeks has been at least in the top half of the league. And that's good enough to go up 4. I do think I would take them over any of the teams we have mentioned up to this point. And I've been impressed with what I've seen in the last 2 weeks. They beat Vegas, have a scrappy win or a scrappy game where they kind of kept it close due to good offense. I got Carolina at 26, and I know that's going to be high for some people, but I mean, I think they've played well, and I think they have justified being better than some of those teams we have mentioned. At number 25, it's the Vegas Raiders. And at this point, I don't think I'm going to move them up or down for like the rest of the season, because yes, they pulled out a win. They have 2 of the worst losses of the year, and they have 2 of the most like random wins, beating the Ravens, and they end up beating the Browns, which that wasn't a game that I really had much hope in for either of these teams. And I really don't have a lot to say about what I saw from Vegas. I thought they were able to run the ball. That's a big addition for them. If they can run the ball, I think this offense is a little bit more dynamic. Gardner Minshew just doesn't really feel like the answer. I know he's towards the top of the league in yards. That's what the broadcast said yesterday. But if you watch the games, Gardner Minshew has not been a great quarterback for Vegas. This was a game, admittedly, I didn't pay much attention to, because I didn't have anything at stake for either of these teams. I thought they were both bad teams. And we saw that. Vegas pulls out the win. Obviously, like I said, the big X factor is going to be they're able to run the football, and they were able to play through adversity. You had a ton of injuries. Devontae Adams, Michael Mayer, Max Crosby, and they're able to scrap and claw and get a win. That's a great win. That is a Raiders-style football type of win there from them, and that's something you feel good about moving forward. Now, what can you continue to get that performance from this team? That's going to be the question mark, because they've been very inconsistent up to this point in the season. But I thought they played well, and I got them jumping up 3 to number 25. At number 24, we got the Arizona Cardinals, and I'm not giving up on Arizona just yet. I'm holding out a little bit of hope that they can turn this thing around, right the ship, if you will. But 2 games back-to-back where it felt like their offense kind of stalled out after the first quarter. And the first drive of this game was really good. They went down the field. Marvin Harrison scores a touchdown. You're like, okay, this game is going to be a high-scoring one. Both teams are going to score over 25. And then it was just like nothing from them. James Conner ran the ball well. But this is a weird game, because you went up against a bad Commanders defense, and they kind of feasted on this Arizona team. The offensive line, I didn't think did a very good job protecting Kyler, and he just wasn't able to really get a ton of time. And then defensively, I mean, we know their defense is terrible, but they allowed 1 punt in this game, and that was it. I mean, their defense is genuinely the worst in football right now. And their offense, if they're not going to score a ton of points, they're not going to win a bunch of games. This is a Cardinals team that I think a couple of interesting matchups the last couple of weeks. After being 1-1, you beat the Rams. I had a ton of hope moving forward with this team. Haven't seen a ton from them the last couple of weeks to give me a lot of hope. This team wasn't expected to be great, but I do think I wanted to see a little bit more, was left disappointed. I got them dropping down 4. I do think the upside's certainly there with them, but I got to see a little bit more consistency from this offense. At number 23, we get the Denver Broncos, and I don't even want to talk about their offense. Their offense was genuinely horrible yesterday. They won this game with 60 passing yards from Bo Nix. I mean, if that's what you need to win a football game, then your defense must be doing something special. And their defense has been absolutely remarkable. Patrick Surtain is playing at an all-pro level. I think he's having the best year of his career. Just back-to-back weeks of just locking down really, really good receivers. He's playing out of his mind. But the pass rush has been so impressive for a Broncos team that I had quite literally zero hope for their pass rush. I was up close with this Broncos team. I didn't see this at training camp with them. Jonathan Cooper is playing very well for this team, generating pressure, getting good play from Baron Browning, Nick Bonito, and their defense is just playing like a top 5 defense in the league. They're 2-2, and they could be 3-1 because I actually thought they played really, really well against the Steelers in the second half, and they played pretty well defensively against Seattle in game 1. Bo Nix had his inconsistencies. Yes, he had a bad game. He's a rookie quarterback. He's going to make rookie mistakes. That being said, I don't think that he's holding this team back. Now, this team has to be able to generate a run game. Call Chicago for Khalil Herbert, please. I think that would be an awesome pickup for them. There are some concerns, with the Broncos. They can't run the ball. The offensive line's been shaky. The offense as a whole has been shaky. But if your defense can play like that, you're going to win football games. This feels kind of like the Jets of last year. And I think the offense has shown some upside still. So I got the Broncos at 23. Been pretty impressed with how they played the last couple of weeks. At number 22, we got the Los Angeles Rams. And another team that I'm not quite ready to write off, but it is a team that I feel like I'm starting to lose hope in just because this team has a ridiculous amount of injuries right now. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, they're out for an extended period of time. You're missing guys on the defensive side of the ball. You're missing guys on the offensive line. And it's really hard to win football games when your entire team is just decimated. This isn't a great defense. I've been actually pretty impressed with the 2 Florida State kids, Braden Fisk, Jared Verse. They're playing really, really well. Matthew Stafford is playing incredible football, but they're just not – the offensive line's not doing a great job of protecting Stafford. And the defense, I just don't think can generate a ton of stops on a consistent basis. And this is a team that I think injuries are going to continue to stack up. And it's just going to be hard for them to win games moving forward. This team very easily could be 0-4 if it wasn't for a special teams play. That's pretty telling at this point. So, yes, I got the Rams at 22. I think there's still upside if this team can win a couple games and get healthy. Yeah, this team could still be a playoff team. I do believe that with McVay, with Stafford. We've seen this team do it before. But there are concerns. The injuries are a massive concern with this team. You got to be able to stay healthy in this league. And I got them at 22, hoping they do get healthy and we can see this team at full strength because we know a healthy Rams team is one of the most fun teams to watch in all of football. At number 21, we got the Chicago Bears, a team that, look, I said it last week after they lost to the Colts. I was like, this Bears team is actually playing better than I think people are realizing. People are going to look at the offensive stats and look at Caleb Williams and be like, this team's not playing great. They had a really good game against the Los Angeles Rams. Their defense is playing really good. Everyone's calling for Matt Eberflus to be fired. He's doing his job. His job as the defensive coordinator is to run this defense. And this defense has been great, generating pressure. You're getting good play from guys like Darrell Taylor. Montez Sweat's playing good. Gervon Dexter was kind of the big question mark with this team coming into the year. He is answering the call. You had good play from them. And the big issue is still this offensive line. The offensive line, still a massive concern up front for the Bears. Tevin Jenkins, who is supposedly their best offensive lineman, he's had some inconsistencies. Braxton Jones hasn't been great. But Caleb Williams is making plays happen. When he's not being pressured, I think he's been very, very good, very smart with the football. Him and Cole Kmet building a really good chemistry in the middle of the field. You love to see that. And the big thing with the Bears, they were able to establish the run. DeAndre Swift got it going. Roshan Johnson got it going. If this team can run the football, there is hope for this Bears team moving forward because I think they are a talented roster. They're at 500 right now. If the defense can keep playing like this, Caleb Williams is getting better each and every week. He is playing good football right now, and I think it's going to get overshadowed by everyone talking about Jaden Daniels. And trust me, we will talk about Jaden Daniels because there's a lot of positives there. But let's just not pretend that Caleb's not having a bad rookie season. He's having a good season right now. I think he's playing well. He's starting to get a little bit more accurate, a little bit more comfortable. And I think that's a really impressive and positive thing for the Bears moving forward. I got them at 21. I think they're playing good football, and I think they're going to continue to get better as the season progresses. To a lot of your guys' surprise, I only have my Colts going up 2 spots. This is a really good win for the Colts. A game against the Steelers that they probably had no business winning this football game, but there's some really positive things to take away. This offensive line has been so unbelievably good through the first 4 weeks of the season. Tanner Bortolini, rookie, 4th-round pick, guy that I was a bit of a fan of. He wasn't my favorite player, but I thought he was a good, solid offensive lineman. Plays really well in place of the injured Ryan Kelly. Will Fries is like the 2nd highest graded guard per PFF, and he was considered the weak link of this offensive line coming into the season. So you're feeling pretty good about the line. The offense as a whole was really impressive, though. I thought play calling was we finally got to see Shane Steichen kind of call the game the way you wanted to see the game called. The run game was much more prevalent. Jonathan Taylor got it going. Hopefully he could be healthy for next week's game. They were starting to tap into the Anthony Richardson run stuff early before he got hurt. Looks like he's going to be fine. Before I go any further, people talking about Anthony Richardson being injury prone. Took 1 hit in that game to the hip. It wasn't a great hit. I think I'd like to see most of you guys take that hit. He could have come back in the game. They just wanted to play it safe, which I think ultimately was the right decision because you're up 17-0 by the time Flacco comes in the game. Josh Downs, he's playing absolutely incredible for the Colts right now. And the defense, I thought, played really well. They made stops when they needed to make stops. The 4th-and-1 play where Zaire Franklin just stuffs the run, closes the gap on Fields was one of the most impressive plays I saw all weekend. That was a huge bonus. And the secondary played well. They allowed the Steelers to get in it late, which you don't want to see. They kind of reverted back to weeks 1 and 2 Colts in terms of run defense. But overall, pretty impressive stuff by the Colts. And when you look at their next 3 games, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Miami, I think they can win at least 2 of those games. They should win all 3. There's a team that could be 5-2 going into week 7 or going into week 8, and you'd feel pretty good about the Colts moving forward if that's the case. So I got them at number 20, jumping up 2. Still want to see a little bit more consistency from the D-line, see a little bit more from Anthony Richardson, who played well early, but I thought they had a good win, and I got him at number 20. At number 19, it's the New Orleans Saints, and it's a team that I wanted to be higher on when they started to win, but I just couldn't get with the personnel. And this is a team that I thought had a weak roster top to bottom, and I just didn't trust Derek Carr. And when the moment gets too bright, I still don't trust Derek Carr. Decision-making kind of goes out the window. This offense is not the same when Taysom Hill's off the field. It really isn't. It is night and day different. They can't really do as much. I thought the run game couldn't really get established. Granted, you're missing some key offensive linemen, but I thought you had good play from Troy Anderson. He kind of stuffed the run a little bit. Defense was solid in this game, but it wasn't anything to write home about. And yeah, I mean, I got the Saints at 19. We're hoping those week 1 and 2 Saints can come back on Monday night against the Chiefs, but there's just not a lot that I'm really impressed with these last 2 weeks. They weren't really able to score much. I think they had 12 points in week 3. Didn't really have a great game plan coming into Atlanta. Yeah, I got them at 19. I still think they can be competitive, but it's just a team that I really am not that impressed with moving forward. And I just don't trust the quarterback, and that's kind of what it comes down to. At number 18, it's another team that I thought the consensus was maybe a little bit too quick to jump the gun on, and it is the Los Angeles Chargers. Look, they're playing good football defensively. I thought they've been pretty good. They were missing Derwin James. I believe Bosa was out in this one. And the defense did a pretty good job forcing turnovers, making plays happen. I think offensively, though, when the game gets slower, more physical, there are concerns with this Chargers team, and it's particularly with the receivers, and that was the concern coming into the year. Justin Herbert, I get it. He's not feeling great. He's not feeling 100%. The Chargers 100% needed the bye week that they've got coming up just to get Herbert healthy and just get this team back on track. But when you look at it, I mean, the receivers are really lacking. Quentin Johnston's played fine. Vlad McConkey's he had a pretty good game. But there's just nothing that's just like, wow, this team's playing really, really well. Just haven't really seen that on really any of their games up to this point. A lot of close games where I think the defense has been good, but I don't think this is a great football team. I still hold my questions with this team on a potential playoff team, just because I think they're lacking talent. I think that's what it comes down to. You got to get Herbert healthy. That's number one. And number two, you got to be able to find pass catchers. Now, luckily for them, this could be an offseason or a mid-season where Amari Cooper comes available for trade. Devontae Adams, I doubt that they do an in-division trade, but you get the point. There's some names that could come available, and Chargers might be active there, but as of right now, I got them at number 18. Just need to see more consistency from this offense, and I think defensively, while they've been good, I don't think they've been stellar either. At number 17, up one spot, we got the Atlanta Falcons. One of the more, I don't want to say disappointing teams this season. I think they've been fine. I don't think they've been great. You kind of look at the defense. I think the defense is actually playing really, really well. We mentioned Troy Anderson. He had, I believe, 17 tackles in this game. Kind of his coming out party, a player that people have been waiting on to break out. He had a really good game. Thought the defense as a whole was good. Kyle Pitts, a no-show in this one. You hate to see that. Kirk Cousins was fine. I just didn't really see anything from this Falcons team where I'm like, wow, this team looks great. And I haven't seen that at all from them this season. You get Bijan involved, and that's where this offense looks like they're at their best. Bijan Robinson's by far this team's best offensive player. And they just weren't able to really establish a ton with him early in this game. They kind of got it going late. This team I still think is lacking playmakers, which I know sounds crazy considering they've drafted 4 straight offensive players in the first round, and Pitts, London, Robinson, and now Michael Penix. But I just think this offense is lacking playmakers. That's what it comes down to. The offensive line I know is banged up, but some concerns with this Falcons team, I think. I just don't think it's a complete team. I also think play calling has been kind of a disaster. Zach Robinson's been very disappointing. A coordinator that a lot of people were excited about. Looks a lot like the Arthur Smith offense. So I got the Falcons at number 17. I hope they could prove me wrong. I love Kirk. Got a Falcons mini helmet right behind me. I love Bijan. There's a roadmap for this team to be more competitive, but I just haven't seen it through 4 weeks. And I got him at number 17. At number 16, staying the same, it's the Dallas Cowboys. I know they beat the Giants, but how excited can you be as a Cowboys fan with this team? Number one, you can't run the football. We've talked about this for 2 straight weeks. You just can't establish the run whatsoever. They cannot run the ball in between the line, outside the line. They've got no running backs. They're another team. Call for Khalil Herbert. I'm going to keep saying that because why is Khalil Herbert the running back 3 on Chicago? He would be RB1 on like 4 or 5 different teams in the league right now. The Cowboys are one of them. Number 2, the defense has been disappointing. Secondary didn't look great. But the defensive line now you feel really worried about. DeMarcus Lawrence out 4 to 6 weeks. That's a massive loss for this team. Micah Parsons is week to week. Looks like they're preparing to be without him against the Steelers. That's a massive loss for this team. You got your 2 best edge rushers going out, and Sam Williams got hurt. So that's your 3 top edge rushers. You're going to need some big stuff from Marshawn Nealand if this team's going to be competitive. They finally were able to kind of get some stuff going, establishing run defense. Mozzie Smith had a good game. DeMarvion Overshown had a good game. So that you feel a little bit positive about. But overall, I mean, what's there to be excited about if you're a Cowboys fan? The ceiling for this team, I think, is 9 wins. They've got a brutal stretch of their schedule coming up, and they could be without 2 of their best defensive players. They still can't run the ball, and you have one offensive weapon in CeeDee Lamb that teams are just going to put their best corner on and put him on an island or you'll double him and just make somebody else beat you. There's a lot of concerns with Dallas. I think they're dead in the middle of the league right now. I got them at number 16. The biggest drop of the week this week, we got the Philadelphia Eagles dropping 9 spots. Eagles fans are going to hate me for this. I really don't care. This team is not very good. I don't even know where to begin. Defensively, this team has struggled to generate pressure really all season long. In the secondary, still a concern. It's still a concern that you have. I thought Quinyon Mitchell has been really good this season. Well, he's the exception here. CJ Gardner-Johnson's given up 4 touchdowns in 4 games. For a guy that talks as much as he does, you'd think he could back it up on the field, but he cannot. On top of that, this team offensively has been a nightmare. Is Jalen Hurts like a bottom 5 starting quarterback in the league this year? He genuinely might be. And I'm not exaggerating. Was really bad against the Saints despite the win. Was not good against the Falcons. Was not good against the Packers. And was terrible against Tampa yesterday. Absolutely brutal. They are desperately missing A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown has made Ryan Tannehill and Jalen Hurts look like really good quarterbacks. Neither of them are, and it shows. The offensive line is not good. I think that's another thing. That is, Lane Johnson's playing well, but the offensive line, I'm not going to say that the offensive line is not good, but Jalen Hurts is not helping the offensive line by bailing out of clean pockets as much as he does. On top of that, you are still playing with Cam Jurgens, his first year under center. The run game has been the only effective thing for this team, but when you're down as much as they were, you can't really run the football, and you need Jalen Hurts to pass the ball. So, I mean, there's just not a lot of positives to really take away. Jalen Carter's been great. That's about it. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't pass the ball. The offense, who did I hear say this? I want to say it was Marcus with that franchise guy. He was saying that the Eagles offense is basically trying to use Jalen Hurts how the Cowboys use Dak. Jalen Hurts is not Dak Prescott. He is way better on the move. He's way better as an athlete in RPOs. They haven't done that as much as you would have expected them to do. And on top of that, I think Nick Sirianni is a terrible head coach, and I think he probably gets fired. If they lose, I believe they have a bye week coming up. If they lose coming out of the bye, I think Sirianni gets fired. I just don't see how you can stick with him after the devastating collapse they had last year and what we've seen through the first 4 weeks, where this team very easily could be 0-4 on the season. So I got them at number 15, have been one of my most disappointing teams in the year thus far. They sucked me back in. I had to move them back up. I got the Bengals at number 7. And look, I know I had them pretty low. I had them at 21 last week. Find me 16 teams that are playing better than the Bengals and don't use record as an example. I think that's the difference between when you're putting together a power rankings list, record does not matter at all. It's who's playing the best football right now. The Bengals are playing like a top half of the league team, and they have been for 3 straight weeks. We're right in it with Kansas City down to the wire, right in it with Washington down to the wire, which both those teams look very good. And then they beat Carolina, and the offense has looked absolutely phenomenal for 3 straight weeks. I mean, Joe Burrow is playing at an MVP level. He really is. If this team was 3-1 or 2-2, I think we would entertain more MVP conversations with Joe Burrow. I think he's playing that good right now. He's so accurate with the football. He looks healthier than he's ever been. The deep ball looks great. Jamar Chase finally getting involved in this offense. The offensive line did a really good job. Now, yes, I know you did just play the Panthers, but the offensive line didn't give up a sack. So that is a very positive thing with Cincinnati moving forward. And on top of that, defense did okay, I guess. You still got to be concerned about the defense a little bit, which is why I don't have them higher, because they still don't have a lot moving for them. I believe Trey Hendrickson got hurt in this game, so hopefully he's good to go moving forward. The interior of their defensive line is not good, but Chris Jenkins made some plays. Love to see the rookie getting involved. Chase Brown was good. I mean, it's a good Bengals team, and I don't think there's a lot of people that are going to be disagreeing with this. But people are going to see the 1-3 record and think they should be lower. I get it, but I think they're playing really good football, particularly offensively. They're playing like a top 10 offense in the league. If the defense could be good, at least okay, I think this Bengals team could still get into the playoffs. I got them at number 14. At number 13, we got the Seattle Seahawks. They moved down 2 spots. They dropped to 3-1 after losing to Detroit. Again, don't know why the 1 always goes off on the graphics after the Monday night games. I do apologize. But this is a good Seahawks team, and I was actually very, very impressed. A Seahawks team that I've been hesitant to really give their flowers to because they beat the Broncos, the Dolphins with Skylar Thompson, and they beat the Patriots. So 3 games are it's like, okay, how good is this team really? And they've looked really good. Their defense played probably their worst game of the year. You allow 42 to the Lions offense that finally kind of got things clicking. That's a bit alarming. But what's really positive about this has to be the offense. Geno Smith played very, very well in the game today. Accurate with the football, good decision-making, making plays happen on the run. DK Metcalf has a great game. Kenneth Walker with the hat trick. Some really good stuff from this Seahawks offense. I still think you got to improve the interior of this offensive line. That's going to be the question every single week with this team moving forward. The interior, it allows more pressure than you'd like to see. A lot of times Geno's just got to bail out of the pocket. He just doesn't have a ton of time back there. But this team's got a good 1-2 punch at the running back position. They've got weapons everywhere. And Mike McDonald's doing a really good job with this defense. A really, really good job with this defense. Secondary's playing well. I like the Seahawks team. I got them at number 13. They do drop 2 spots, but I do think that this is a good team that should make the playoffs in a weaker NFC. At number 12, I do have the Pittsburgh Steelers, another team dropping 2 spots. Now, I can't believe I'm about to say this sentence out loud. I think Justin Fields had a pretty good game. I'm not going to lie. I thought he played pretty good, particularly in the second half of this game. Steelers were down, I want to say it was 20-3. And Justin Fields did a pretty good job. He felt in command, had the one just ugly Justin Fields fumble, which we've gotten used to. But other than that, I thought he was pretty solid, was accurate with the football, making plays happen on the run. Had 2 rushing touchdowns, a passing touchdown. I thought it was good. Now, what's alarming for the Steelers team is the defense. Joey Porter Jr. did not have a good game. He was getting beat left and right. That's your number 1 corner. You want to see him make more plays. TJ Watt, the defense really kind of felt like a non-factor in this one, which was a bit of a surprise, which maybe that Colts offensive line is really great. Because they weren't able to really generate any pressure. Yes, they were without Alex Highsmith, but it's still something you want to take note of. Even against Joe Flacco, Joe Flacco was kind of had time to pick their defense apart. A Steelers team that a lot of people thought had the best defense in the league didn't really play like the best defense in the league. You could talk about the penalty calls all you want. They lost the game. They dropped 2 spots, but I do think there were some positives, and I want to say the big negative, Najee Harris was terrible in this game. Absolutely brutal. Could not run. The vision was absolutely atrocious. Not a game that you're going to want to remember if you're Najee Harris. Cordero Patterson had a better game than him, which is very odd. Yes, it's 2024. So overall, I was actually pretty impressed with Pittsburgh, a team that even though I had them at 10, I talked about it. I'm like, until I can see them against a good team, not really sure what to make of them. This was a game where I was like, okay, this Pittsburgh team is pretty solid. They're scrappy. They are a Mike Tomlin coach team. They're going to be in it. And I thought Fields played well. Good one against Dallas on Sunday night. I've got them at number 12. Another big drop for me has to be the Jets moving down from number 5 to number 11. Sorry, Peter, if you're watching this. Man, just a bad performance from the Jets. Aaron Rodgers didn't look great in this game. It's weird. He had a bunch of time to rest after that Thursday night game where he looked awesome. He looked absolutely incredible on the run, extending plays. He looked great. Just couldn't get it going. The run game has to be the most concerning part if you're a Jets fan. Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, neither of them really got it going, particularly Breece Hall, who, as a Breece Hall fantasy owner, he was terrible, just terrible. Had a really good game on the last drive of this game, and they just decided, we're not going to give him the ball anymore. Not sure where that decision came from. Garrett Wilson was just blanketed by Pat Surtain, and I think Robert Saleh has got to be taking some of the blame for this one. just poor head coaching decisions. And you hate to see it from a coach that, was probably on the hot seat coming into the year. I don't think he's done anything to help his job this year. We'll put it that way. Just some dumb stuff from this Jets team that I just really hate. A game that they should have won. This should have been a gimme at home. Granted, I know the weather was bad. I'm not paying attention to the weather. The positive stuff I do want to say about this Jets team, however, Mike Williams looked really, really good for them. You seem to have a number 2 weapon for Rodgers, which you like. And I thought Lazard was okay as well. I got the Jets at number 11, just outside the top 10, because their wins have been against the Patriots and the Titans. When they've had to play against good defenses, I think they've struggled. So I got them at number 11, hoping they can bounce back against Minnesota, but that's looking unlikely to say the least. I am so happy. I've got a Commanders fan that's been my childhood best friend, Washington fan, and man, I'm so happy for this Commanders franchise. The sweetest part is that Dan Snyder's gone. He doesn't get to see this, and I'm blown away. I had people on my talking about how I was lower on Jaden Daniels because there was this tweet going around that said Jaden Daniels was the next Mike Vick. And I'm like, no one has said that he's the next Mike Vick. Lamar, though, yes, I can get on board with the Lamar Jackson thing. And he might be more accurate and a better quarterback than Lamar. I'm not saying he's a better player than Lamar. I think Lamar's a better athlete. He's got more arm strength. He's had a better career up to this point. But in terms of accuracy, in terms of knowing where to go with the football and decision-making, Jaden Daniels might be a top 5 to 10 processor in the league already. He has been absolutely phenomenal. This kid just doesn't make any mistakes. Just picking apart defenses. Granted, he played Arizona and Cincinnati, 2 of the worst defenses in the league. I get it. But this is a rookie. This is a rookie making these types of decisions. The other thing that I think is pretty impressive, Terry McLaurin finally as a quarterback. That looks good, but I thought the defense was really, really impressive. A defense that coming into the day you thought was going to be terrible. You thought they were going to look bad. Dorrance Armstrong's making plays left and right for this team, generating pressure. I thought he was really good. Emmanuel Forbes isn't a liability at corner. That's a positive for this team. Frankie Louvu's making plays. Like, this defense feels cohesive. They played together. And this is a really, really fun and talented Commanders team that I tweeted it like 2 to 3 times yesterday. I'm betting on this team to win the division. When I see what the Eagles and Cowboys are doing, I think Washington's by far the best team in this division. The other thing I want to talk about is the offensive line. Sam Cosme, we knew he made my top 100 players in the league. But when you talk about some other guys on this team, I had concerns about left tackle. I thought Brandon Coleman was the most overdrafted prospect in this class. Might have been wrong on him. I had like a 6th round grade on him. I thought he was going to be a bust. They drafted him in the 3rd. He had a really, really solid game against, granted, yes, the Arizona pass rushers. Back-to-back weeks where this offensive line is really giving Jaden time, and he's making defenses pay. I'm blown away with how good he has looked as a rookie. And I got Washington as a top 10 team in the league. I think this team's playing excellent football right now. Dropping 1 spot this week are the Green Bay Packers, falling to 2-2. They just got blown out in the first half of this game. This game looked like it was going to be 50-0 at one point. Jordan Love comes back. I thought in the second half of this game, he was really good. He made some oh my gosh throws. It's like, this guy's still top 10 quarterback in football. The defense has been the concern with this team to me. Rashawn Gary's been pretty absent from this team. Might work better as a stand-up rusher, which is interesting. You want to see kind of where that goes. But he's been pretty absent from this team. Xavier McKinney had another interception in this game. That's 4 for 4. You love that. You're missing Jair Alexander. I get it. That's your best defensive player. He's out, but they weren't really generating any push on this Vikings O-line. And, receiving-wise, outside of Jaden Reed, I do have concerns about this receiving room. Christian Watson goes down with another injury, which is just brutal for him. I mean, I think it's a good Packers team. I'm not going to say I hold by my stance as a Super Bowl team. I did pick this team to win it all, but I still think this is a top 10 team in football. They didn't give me any reason to doubt that. The way they fought back in this game was impressive. And I thought Jordan Love, the first half of this game, it looked like he was a quarterback coming off of injury. The second half of this game, he looked more comfortable. He looked more like he was understanding the motion of things. And I felt pretty good about what we saw from him in the second half. So feel good about Green Bay moving forward, but they do drop a spot. I don't know what it is. This is a Texans team that's 3-1, and I kind of want to have them at the same spot I have the Eagles. This team feels eerily similar to last year's Eagles team, and I couldn't tell you why. There's something off with this team. I mean, yes, I have them at 8 because they're 3-1. They've got one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. There's some positive stuff to take away. What is wrong with this offense? I mean, Bobby Slowick was a guy that we all thought was like the next guy to get a head coaching gig. Yeah, he's going to do a little jig to get a head coaching position. I mean, this offense has just been stale. Outside of Nico Collins, I know Tank Dell was out. I just haven't been impressed at all. CJ Stroud, the offensive line looks like it's taken a massive step back, but also haven't been moved by Stroud. Outside of that week 1 game, hasn't really done anything that's been super impressive to me. And they haven't been able to establish the run. Joe Mixon has been out. They aren't able to establish the run. Defensively, there's also concerns I have. They weren't able to really rush the passer against Trevor Lawrence. Derek Stingley had an awesome game. I don't want to talk negatively about the whole defense, but there's just something not right. They were way too close with that Bears game, a game they should have blown out. They got beat by the Vikings pretty poorly, and then this bad Jacksonville team gives them a tough time. I don't know if Houston's good. And we'll see with the upcoming weeks. I still got them at 8, but there's just something off with this team, and they don't feel like the serious threat to come out of the AFC like a lot of people thought they were coming into the year. I know one person's going to be happy in my comment section here. I do have Tampa jumping up to number 7. Super impressive game against the Eagles. And Baker Mayfield, when he's on, is a top 5 quarterback in the league this season. He's looked really, really sharp, really solid. His decision-making's been good. I mean, this offense looks really solid, and I think this is a league that seems to be transitioning more to the run game, which is why I think we might have 2 first-round running backs this year. But Bucky Irving's been really good for this team. And I talked about it. I've talked about it for a little bit. I'm like, Rachaad White's the perfect receiving back. Don't really know if I want him running the football, but Bucky Irving, he's running the ball well, and he's playing really good football for this team. Defensively, I think they've been great. Zion McCollum, yet again, another big game. He's playing like a legit number 1 corner, opposite of Jamel Dean. You feel really, really good about that pairing right now. And, I mean, this is a really good Tampa team. The O-line's playing well. They're able to run the ball. They've got weapons all over the place with Trey Palmer, Jalen McMillan, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. I mean, just great stuff from this Tampa team. And I think right now they are one of the top teams in the NFC. They're the clear top team in the South. And I think they're playing great football. So I've got them at number 7. Really liking what we're seeing from Baker Mayfield and this Bucs team, and I think they're going to be a real threat moving forward in the NFC. At number 6, rising to 2-2. Don't know where the other 2 went. We do have the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, Derrick Henry, I talked about it. First 2 weeks of the season, where was Derrick Henry? Like, they just didn't give him the ball. Last 2 weeks, Derrick Henry's been like the main focal point of their offense, and they're 2-0. Feed the beast. Feed the king. He's been playing absolutely incredible. I mean, that first play, I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, as a Colts fan, I couldn't be more happy that Derrick Henry is on the Ravens. I don't got to see him twice a year anymore. I can root for the guy and not have a guilty conscience. He is so much fun to watch. Had an incredible game. I mean, this is the offense. This is your identity. Run the ball, play hard-nosed defense. They were big. They pressured Buffalo, and they played really well on the defensive side of the football, which is something that they haven't done a great job of. I thought their defense has been really underwhelming up to this point in the season. Not tonight. I thought they were really well. They really executed their game plan well. Madubuike was creating pressure. Kyle Van Noy played well. Kyle Hamilton played really well. Some really positive stuff to take away from their defense. And yeah, I do really like this Baltimore team. Still want to see a little bit more from the pass catchers. Want to see a little bit more consistency, but definitely a team that is climbing back up into that top 5 conversation. At number 5, it's the Buffalo Bills. I'm not playing the recency bias game. I still have them one spot ahead of the Ravens, despite losing to the Ravens. I think this is a better team. Weren't able to really get the run going tonight. James Cook didn't have a good game. Thank God, because I needed him to have a bad game in fantasy. Was going up against him. But yeah, I mean, I thought Josh Allen played a really good game. Was sound with the football, made good decisions, had that big play to Shakir. Keon Coleman, those back shoulders to Keon Coleman were perfectly executed. Keon Coleman did have a big costly drop. The big issue is this team is going to be the defense. They're missing their linebackers in the middle of the field, and that's going to hurt you. I mean, they just don't really have any safety blanket in the middle of the field to make any of these plays. And then Taylor Rapp went down in this game, so you got to go to the rookie Bishop. There were just a lot of injuries on the defensive side for Buffalo. But I thought offensively, Coleman played pretty well. Kincaid had a good game. The O-line was iffy. And Josh Allen was banged up in this one. So I still really like this Buffalo team. I think they're playing really well, and I got them at my number 5 spot. At number 4, we got the San Francisco 49ers. They get a win against the Patriots. It's really hard to tell if this team's good as well because their 2 wins have come against the Jets week 1, and they beat the Patriots. So banged up, so injured. But I think Brock Purdy is playing like a top 3 quarterback in the league this year. He's been fantastic. Decision-making, his ability to escape the pocket, make plays happen on the run. Debo is back in this game. Kittle's back. He makes some incredible just threading the needle type passes where you're like, how did he fit that in that window? The defense played well. I mean, I just want to talk about Fred Warner for a second. Fred Warner should be the defensive player of the year through the first 4 weeks, and I don't think it should be debatable. I don't know the last time a linebacker won it. I want to say it was Kuechly in 15. Fred Warner should be on that tier. He's playing excellent in the passing lanes, intercepting footballs left and right. He's making really good tackles downhill. I mean, I don't have a negative thing to say about Fred Warner. Defensively, yeah, they're a little thin on the interior. But I'm really impressed with what we saw from them. Talent-wise, we know where they're going to be. They're going to be in that top half of the league sort of range. Can they stay healthy? That's the concern. McCaffrey's got Achilles tendonitis, went to Germany to get it checked out. That's not a good sign. That's a bad sign if you're a Niners fan. We'll see when he comes back, but I got them at number 4 right now. At number 3, thank God the Lions are back. I mean, I was worried for a minute. I was like, this team they were kind of how I felt about the Lions coming into the week was kind of how I felt about the Texans. I'm like, I just don't know what to make about them. Jared Goff has not been great. The defense has been good. They're winning games because of their defense, but I don't think the offense has really had that breakout performance. Jared Goff was perfect tonight. 18 for 18, 2 touchdowns. I think or was it 1 touchdown and he received a touchdown in this one? Either way, I mean, he was great tonight. Didn't miss a pass all game long. The offensive line was really, really good. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, they got the run game going. Jameson Williams has a big touchdown. I mean, everything that could have gone right for the Lions went right. The offense finally got it clicking. Ben Johnson proving why he's the best offensive coordinator in the league right now. Everything went right for Detroit. That is great news for NFL fans because, I mean, if Detroit's good, I mean, this is a team that very easily can win the Super Bowl this year. Was really, really impressed with how they came out and performed tonight. They jump up a spot, and I got them at number 3. I finally did it. I finally moved the Chiefs down a spot. How can you not? I mean, This Chiefs team has not been good through 4 weeks, and they're 4-0. Let's just go through. Week 1, lose by a toe. Week 2, they get bailed out by a penalty. Week 3, who did they play week 3? Who did they beat week 3? Either way, week 4, they score 17 points. Rashee Rice, I know they're going through all this testing, but it didn't look good. It looks like he's going to be out for an extended period of time. And they beat Atlanta due to just poor play calling in the red zone by Atlanta. This team is 4-0, and they very easily could be 0-4. Patrick Mahomes is the favorite to win MVP right now. How? I don't know if the voters have watched Patrick Mahomes this year. He has not been very good. Kelsey finally had a okay game, 7 for 89. The defense, Chris Jones has been everywhere for them. They're winning games because of their defense, but I think this offense has been very concerning. There hasn't been very much positive to take away from the Chiefs up to this point in the season. I know Chiefs fans are going to be upset about it, but I mean, there hasn't. And now you're out Hollywood Brown, you're out Rashee Rice, you're out Isaiah Pacheco. Who's stepping up for this team? Are you trading for Amari Cooper? That might have to be the move. I got the Chiefs at number 2. You guys shouldn't complain too much. You're at number 2. I just think there's another team that's playing better. I think the Vikings are the best team in the league through 4 weeks. And if you gun to my head, no way I would have picked this. No way coming into the year I would have thought through 4 weeks this team would be the best in football. After week 1, you beat the Giants. There's like, okay, now you got a brutal stretch of Houston, San Francisco, Green Bay. You win all 3 of those games handedly. Like, it's not even close. They're dominating these teams. They're playing absolutely phenomenal defense with the way they're able to generate pressure using Andrew Van Ginkel. Jonathan Grenard's playing really good. Blake Cashman in the middle as a blitzer. They just give you these weird defensive looks. They make incredible plays. Secondary's playing really well. And Sam Darnold's my pick for MVP right now. I mean, he's got some interceptions. I think he's got 3, but he leads the league in touchdowns. Decision-making's excellent. Justin Jefferson's playing really well. And I mean, this Vikings team, what's there not to like? They are the best coach team in the league outside of maybe Kansas City. They've got weapons everywhere. The O-line's playing well. And Aaron Jones is having a bit of a career resurgence right now as well. This Vikings team is the best team in football right now. I think they are playing better than anybody on both sides of football. And that is why they're my number 1 team of the week. But guys, let me know, what do you guys think? Who do you guys have at the top of your power rankings? Would love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.